they discussed NATO and being in NATO, and everybody knows what the answer to that is. They've known that answer for 40 years, in all fairness. So a lot of the details of a final agreement have actually been discussed. Now we're going to see whether or not Russia's there, and if they're not, it'll be a very disappointing moment for the world. When I first went to NATO, my first meeting, I noticed that very few people were paying, and if they were, they weren't paying their fair share. There were only 7 countries that were paying what they were supposed to be paying, which was, yeah,
it's even worse.
Could be even worse. But there were just very few countries that were paying, and even the paying, it was at 2%, which is too low. It should be higher. It should be quite a bit higher. But you had Poland, and I remember Poland was actually paying a little bit more than they were supposed to, which I was very impressed with. And they've been actually terrific, and some of the others. But most of them weren't paying, or they were paying very little. And I didn't think it was appropriate to bring it up there, but I said it's going to be brought up at my next meeting. And my next meeting, the first meeting, you want to give them a little break. The second meeting, it began, and I was able to raise hundreds of billions of dollars. I just said, we're not going to be involved with you if you're not going to pay. And the money started pouring in, and NATO became much stronger because of my actions and working along with a lot of people, including Mark. But they would not pay for other presidents, and I don't think other presidents even knew that they weren't paid. I asked, first question, has everybody paid up? And literally, I mean, they told me 7. You could be right, it could be 3, but they just weren't paying. And I said, no, I won't protect if you're not paying. If you're delinquent, or if the money isn't paid, why would we do that? And as soon as I said that, you get a little hit from the press, because they said, oh, gee, that's not very nice. But if you said the other, nobody would have paid. And the money started coming in by the billions. And, hundreds of billions of dollars flowed in. It became strong. Yeah. And you remember that. Your predecessor, who I thought was a very good man.
Absolutely. Jens Stoltenberg. He sends his best greetings.
He was terrific. Stoltenberg, Secretary General. And he made the statement that when Trump came in, the money started coming in like we never saw before. Hundreds of billions. Actually, probably close to $600 billion came in. And NATO became strong from that standpoint. And now we have to use it wisely. And we have to get this war over with. And you'll be back to a normal, much more normal life. No, I'm not. Look, we've been ripped off. So we're not going to be ripped off anymore. No, I'm not going to bend at all on aluminum or steel or cars. We're not going to bend. We've been ripped off as a country for many, many years. We've been subjected to costs that we shouldn't be subjected to. In the case of Canada, we're spending $200 billion a year to subsidize Canada. I love Canada. I love the people of Canada. I have many friends in Canada. The great one, Wayne Gretzky, the great. Hey, how good is Wayne Gretzky? He's the great one. But we have, I know many people from Canada that are good friends of mine. But, the United States can't subsidize a country for $200 billion a year. We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. We don't need their lumber. We don't need anything that they give. We do it because we want to be helpful. But it comes a point when you just can't do that. You have to run your own country. And to be honest with you, Canada only works as a state. It doesn't. We don't need anything they have. As a state, it would be one of the great states anyway. This would be the most incredible country visually. If you look at a map, they drew an artificial line right through it between Canada and the U.S. Just a straight artificial line. Somebody did it a long time ago, many, many decades ago, and it makes no sense. It's so as a great and cherished state. Oh Canada, the national anthem. I love it. Keep it. But it'll be for the state, one of our greatest states. Maybe our greatest state. But why should we subsidize another country for $200 billion? It costs us a year. And again, we don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We have more than they do. We don't need any cars. I'd much rather make the cars here. And there's not a thing that we need. Now, there'll be a little disruption, but it won't be very long. But they need us. We really don't need them. And we have to do this. I'm sorry, we have to do this, yes. This thing would have gone on for a long time.
Breaking the deadlock. was crucial.
Yeah, we broke a deadlock. Yeah. We did break a deadlock. I hope it's meaningful.
With just the news, on the southern border, you've got DHS and ICE who are reporting that there was a little bit of fudging of numbers during the Biden administration on both the catch and the release side with respect to reporting the number of illegals coming into
They cheated on the numbers. The numbers were. I love that question. Who are you with?
Just the news, Amanda.
Very nice. That's good. That's good.
Do you know how many of those are criminal illegal aliens?
Many of them.
Biden's out of office.
Yeah.
Alejandro Mayorkas.
No, Biden fudged the numbers. The numbers were totally fake. And he gave fake numbers. I knew they were fake. Everybody knew they were fake. But now it came out. And terrible what they did. That administration was a horror show for this country. They do a shutdown, and ultimately that might lead to very, very high taxes, because we're talking about a shutdown. We're talking about getting to work immediately on the greatest tax bill ever passed. That was the one we did. It was a renewal, and it's an addition to it. And we're going to cut people's taxes. And if we don't open, the Democrats are stopping all of these good things that we're providing. We're providing the greatest package of benefits that the country's ever provided. The biggest part of that's going to be tax cuts for the middle class and for businesses, small businesses, employers, people that hire people in jobs. And if it's shut down, it's only going to be, if there's a shutdown, it's only because of the Democrats. And they would really be taking away a lot from our country and from the people of our country. Yesterday, General Motors was in. They want to invest $60 billion. The people from Facebook were going to invest $60 billion by the end of the year. Other people are talking about numbers. Apple, as you know, a few days ago announced $500 billion investment. They're going to build their plants in the United States, which, as you know, almost all of their plants are in China. Now they're building in the United States. Look, the reason is two things. Number one, the election, November 5th, and the other thing is tariffs. I think probably in that order. But Tim Cook came to 500, think of it, 500 billion, not million. 500 million's a lot when you think about it, right? But I would have been happy with 500 million, but it's $500 billion investment by Apple in the United States. And that's because of the election result, and it's because of the tariffs and the tax incentives too, tariffs and tax incentives.
What is your vision for the potential annexation of Greenland and getting the potential?
Yeah. Well, I think it'll happen, and I'm just thinking, I didn't give it much thought before, but I'm sitting with a man that could be very instrumental. Mark, we need that for international security, not just security, international. We have a lot of our favorite players, cruising around the coast, and we have to be careful. And we'll be talking to you. It's a very appropriate, really a very appropriate question.
There's an issue in the high north, so the Arctic. So what you did, so when it comes to Greenland, yes or not joining the US, I would leave that outside for me, this discussion, because I don't want to drag NATO in that. But when it comes to the high north and the Arctic, you are totally right. The Chinese are now using these routes. We know that the Russians are rearming. We know we have a lack of icebreakers. So the fact that the outside Russia, there are 7 Arctic countries working together on this. US leadership is very important to make sure that that region, that part of the world stays safe. And we know things are changing there, and we have to be there.
If it shuts down, it's not the Republicans' fault. We passed a bill where we had an incredible Republican vote. We only had one negative vote, a grandstander. One grandstander. There's always a grandstander in the lot. But it was amazing. People were amazed that the Republicans were able to vote in unison like that, so strongly. If there's a shutdown, even the Democrats admit it'll be their fault. and I'm hearing a lot of Democrats are going to vote for it, and I hope they do. This is an extension, but ultimately we want to vote for one big, beautiful bill where we put the taxes in, we put everything in. We're going to have big tax cuts. We're going to have tremendous incentives for companies coming into our country and employing lots of people. It'll be, I called it in a rare moment, one big, beautiful bill. That's what I like, and it seems to be that's where they're heading. we're going to be discussing a lot of things. Obviously, we'll be discussing what's happening with respect to Ukraine and Russia. At this moment, we have people talking in Russia. We have representatives over there, Steve Witkoff and others. And they're in very serious discussions. As you know, Ukraine has agreed, subject to this, what's happening today, to a complete ceasefire, and we hope Russia will do the same. Thousands of people are being killed, young people, usually mostly young people. We're just talking about it. Thousands of young people are being killed a week, and we want to see that stop. And they're not Americans, and they're not from the Netherlands for the most part. They're not they're from Russia, and they're from Ukraine, but they're people, and I think everybody feels the same way. We want it to stop. It's also a tremendous cost to the United States and to other countries, and it's something that would have never happened if I were president, and it makes me very angry to see that it did happen. But it happened, and we have to stop it. And Mark has done some really good work over the last week. We've been working together, and he's done some really good work, so I'm very happy about that. We'll also be talking about trade and various other things, and I think we'll have a very strong day. We're going to have lunch afterwards. It'll go, and then we'll see you all later. Well, I would like to see a ceasefire from Russia, and we have, not been working in the dark. We've been discussing with Ukraine land and pieces of land that would be kept and lost, and all of the other elements of a final agreement. There's a power plant involved, a very big power plant involved. Who's going to get the power plant, and who's going to get this and that? And so, it's not an easy process. But phase one is the ceasefire. A lot of the individual subjects have been discussed. We've been discussing concepts of land because you don't want to waste time with a ceasefire if it's not going to mean anything. So we're saying, look, this is what you can get, this is what you can't get. They discuss NATO and being in NATO, and everybody knows what the answer to that is. They've known that answer for 40 years, in all fairness. So a lot of the details of a final agreement have actually been discussed. Now we're going to see whether or not Russia's there. And if they're not, it'll be a very disappointing moment for the world. When I first went to NATO, my first meeting, I noticed that very few people were paying, and if they were, they weren't paying their fair share. There were only 7 countries that were paying what they were supposed to be paying, which was
It's even worse.
could be even worse. But there were just very few countries that were paying, and even the paying, it was at 2%, which is too low. It should be higher. It should be quite a bit higher. But you had Poland, and I remember Poland was actually paying a little bit more than they was supposed to, which was very impressed with. And they've been actually terrific, and some of the others, but most of them weren't paying, or they were paying very little, and I didn't think it was appropriate to bring it up there, but I said it's going to be brought up at my next meeting, and my next meeting, the meeting you want to give them a little break. The second meeting, it began, and I was able to raise hundreds of billions of dollars. I just said, we're not going to be involved with you if you're not going to pay. And the money started pouring in, and NATO became much stronger because of my actions and working along with a lot of people, including Mark. They would not pay for other presidents, and I don't think other presidents even knew that they weren't paid. I asked first question: has everybody paid up? And literally, I mean, they told me 7. You could be right; it could be 3, but that makes it even worse. But they just weren't paying. I said, no, I won't protect if you're not paying. If you're delinquent, or if the money isn't paid, why would we do that? And as soon as I said that, you get a little hit from the press because they said, oh, gee, not very nice. If you said the other, nobody would have paid. And the money started coming in by the billions, and hundreds of billions of dollars flowed into NATO, and NATO became strong. And you remember that your predecessor, who I thought was a very good man.
Absolutely, Jens Stoltenberg. He sends his
Yeah. He was terrific. Stoltenberg, Secretary General, and he made this statement that when Trump came in, the money started coming in like we never saw before. Hundreds of billions, actually probably close to $600 billion came in, and NATO became strong from that standpoint. And now we have to use it wisely, and we have to get this war over with, and you'll be back to a normal, much more normal life. No, I'm not. Look, we've been ripped off for years. We're not going to